Good morning. The bird bell has rung, which is how we know that we, birds of a feather, gather this morning in this sacred space in which we hold up the ridiculous and the profane and celebrate all that is our life. Here you go. It is the call to worship, in case you're lost already. Lost and found, we are found. We find ourselves here. We find ourselves ready to join our voices, our spirits, our hearts. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. You are joyfully called to worship. I invite you to rise in body and or in spirit. We'll join our voices in our opening hymn, Over My Head, which is number 30. Now, Over My Head is an African-American spiritual that was sung by enslaved people to do all of the strengthening of spirit that they needed. And so we carry that tradition in our hearts as we sing today. Online pews felt the gladness that is in the air this morning. I feel some low energy that is not appropriate for this hymn. So let's all wind up our energy and really feel the gladness and sing that last verse one more time. I want to feel it, okay? Here we go. Ready to go? All right, here we go.
Yeah.
the difference? You felt the difference. We're all glad now, right? We're all singing that song as it must be sung. Thank you for that. And those of you in the online pews, I know you felt the difference as we did too here in Unity Hall. Let's all wave to the folks in the online pews. Welcome. We're glad that you are here. We're glad that you are here in Unity Hall. If you are here for the first time, raise your hand so we know to welcome you appropriately. I see some folks we haven't seen in a long time. I see Danny Spur's parents. It's good to see you. Good to see you. If you're here for the first time in the online pews, let us know in the chat and we will welcome you there. Let us offer each other a greeting of peace in these days where there seems to be precious little peace in them. Peace be with you all. Let us make a joyful noise. Peace be with you.
Carolyn didn't know the extent of what she was asking for when she asked for that gladness energy to be amped up, right? We acknowledge the Nahantic, Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, and Eastern Pequot people as the traditional caretakers of the land on which we worship. We honor and pay respect to these tribes, their ancestors, and their lineage who today uphold traditional practices, art, and education. Each Sunday, we light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and we ask a child or youth to light the chalice, and this morning I'd like to call up Bronwyn to light the chalice. And we say these words together. In the name of every muscle in our bodies, help us to remember that we can raise our voices, that we can rise up in power on behalf of all those who live in tree, cove, hive, river, and ocean. That we can rise up on behalf of all we love and all that keeps us alive. In the name of every muscle in our bodies, help us to remember.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Thank you so much. Charlie will light our peace candle this morning. We light this candle, of course, every week to hold in our hearts places where our care and concern must be delivered so that those places are held up. This morning, we hold up every college and university where young people are speaking their minds and holding up their First Amendment rights to do so, and in large part doing so peacefully. And as we witness the pushback and the threat to academic freedom, we hold these young people in our hearts, their professors, administrators of colleges right now feeling extreme pressure. And we hope for peace in all of those places, that learning may continue and that all may grow in peace. Thank you, Charlie. Perry.
This morning's story, it says that we can rise up in power on behalf of all those who live in tree. Well, the story is about that, actually, and about rising up for not just those who live in tree, but for the tree. Mm-hmm. And so this story is about our connection to nature, but nature's interdependence and connectedness itself. And Charlie is our storyteller today.
There's a river flowing near me, and I've watched that river change and grow. For 800 years, I have lived here through the wind, the fire, and the snow. I see salmon return every summer. And I watch young owls learning to fly. I have felt the claws of the grizzly. And I've heard the lonely wolf's cry. I have seen great glaciers melting, and I've met lightning eye to eye. But now I hear bulldozers coming, and I wonder, am I soon to die? Who will house the owl, and who will hold that river's shore? And who will take refuge in my shadow if my shadow falls no more? But now I hear children running, circling my trunk, hands soft and strong. People are holding on to my branches. So the wind may always carry my song. Mm.
Aren't those illustrations beautiful? Mm. Mm. It's a story where you can hold the beauty both in words, thanks Charlie, and in the pictures. So who saved the tree in the end? Who surrounded the tree? Your dad? I bet, yeah. I bet he would be there surrounding the tree. Right? All the people. But you too, right? All the children. You could see in the photo, all the children, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have the power. You have the power to surround that tree or whatever it is that needs care and safety. So we're going to head out to Faith Formation to our Passover Seder together. And if you could all sing us with Trees of the Field, that would be great.
We shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Trees of the field will clap their hands. Trees of the field will clap their hands. As you go down with joy.
We have come to the element of our liturgy in which we pause to pay attention and bear witness to each other's lives. We do this as a commitment to each other, as a way of creating and sustaining beloved community. Those of you here in Unity Hall, you are invited to come forward and to light a candle of intention. Those of you in the online pews, this is your opportunity to write in the chat a joy or a sorrow that you would like shared here in Unity Hall. You will receive directions. Don't respond right away. It'll just make it easier for me to later pick out the joys and concerns to share. And so we open this time and this circle for the creation and the sustaining of beloved community. begin with what has been shared in the joys and sorrows. This is more of an announcement that I will let go for this moment. Actually, I'm going to share this during the announcements. Let's just hold that. From the online pews, Charlie Spur here in the sanctuary is wishing his granddaughter Joanna, Jojo Spur, a happy 11th birthday. Happy birthday to Joanna. Welcome, George. Carol Thompson, still at home recovering. So glad to see you in the online pews, Carol. Offers thanks to all the souls who sent cards, food, and flowers, and love. Lots of love, Carol, right? Carol says that she felt them all and that her recovery is progressing. That is excellent news, Carol. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, and then through Beloved Community, we have quite a few because it's been quite a few weeks since we have shared joys and concerns. So I share with you now. Carol Cassidy shares that John Greiner recently celebrated his 75th birthday. So we wish John Greiner a happy birthday. Carolyn Carter asks for prayers for her childhood friend, Kim, a young woman, mother of 2 young boys who was diagnosed with cancer and has started chemotherapy. So we are thinking of her, Carolyn, and for her strength as she goes through chemotherapy, parenting 2 young children. Teresa Reynolds asks for our good vibes, happy thoughts, love, and support when she goes in for another spinal fusion surgery and the recovery that follows. Her date is the end of May, and so we hold Teresa in our hearts as she moves through that trial. Mary Drake asks for prayers for her cousin, whose daughter is a doctor with Doctors Without Borders in Ukraine, serving in Ukraine, and whose son is on a faith-based mission in Israel. And so we hold both of them in our hearts, Mary. I know that you are here. So holding all that has been shared, all that is held in the sanctuary of our hearts, let us enter into a time of prayer and meditation that will be followed by silence. Blessed Spirit of life and of love, Spirit of the ebb and flow of life, the joy and the sorrow, here expressed and held. In these challenging days, both in the world and in some of our lives, may we tap into the gladness that is in the air, gladness that we may funnel into hearts and minds, gladness, no matter the trouble in the air. Help us to stay on the path, to remain connected to others and centered in our own hearts and minds. We give thanks for this day, for all that it will bring. We give thanks, and together we say, Amen. Amen. We'll now join our voices in singing hymn number 83, Winds Be Still. We'll remain seated. I just want to remind everybody of something. When we're singing from words projected on the screen, there is in the bottom right corner All Souls logo on the last verse that we sing together. Just so you know that that's the end of the song and you don't need to anticipate the next slide. It's good to remind ourselves of such things every once in a while. Gary. Amen.
Our reading today is titled Poem About the Environment by Jean Murray Walker. We will read the poem twice. There will be two voices in the poem. I will be the poet composing the poem, and Carolyn will be the voice of the poem responding to me. Poem about the environment. I have written the awful poem to rescue nature, a poem that starts,
Alaska's melting.
The poem walks like a toddler wielding an axe. It exaggerates.
After which our houses will burn.
The poem becomes a stung woman, changing shapes and definitions. It wants to be all things to all people. It becomes an ancient seeing eye dog, trembling and sniffing the methane we can't ever call back, methane that escapes the permafrost.
Are you listening yet?
The poem asks.
By the time we see it's personal, we'll all be doomed. Attention.
The poem calls.
Attention.
The poem wants to be a book of safety matches. Drag your match across its gritty strip. A blaze of worry leaps in you, but not enough to stop a forest fire. The poem is all faithfulness. It believes in miracles, the budding of a lily in the human heart, the mountain moved, one spoonful at a time. Poem about the environment. I have written the awful poem to rescue nature, a poem that starts,
Alaska's melting.
The poem walks like a toddler wielding an axe. It exaggerates.
After which our houses will burn.
The poem becomes a stung woman, changing shapes and definitions. It wants to be all things to all people. It becomes an ancient seeing eye dog, trembling and sniffing the methane we can't ever call back, methane that escapes the permafrost.
Are you listening yet?
The poem asks.
By the time we see it's personal, we'll all be doomed. Attention.
The poem calls.
Attention.
The poem wants to be a book of safety matches. Drag your match across its gritty strip. A blaze of worry leaps in you, but not enough to stop a forest fire. The poem is all faithfulness. It believes in miracles, the budding of a lily in the human heart, the mountain moved, one spoonful at a time.
Thank you. To bring this up a little. Did anyone pay attention to the news this week? It's quite a week, right? Remember that bumper sticker that said, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention? Attention, the poem calls. Attention. Oh, we're paying attention. All right. I get an early morning text from my mother who is paying attention. My 85-year-old mother is lamenting a brutal news item she saw on television, complete with brutal images she finds so deeply disturbing. She writes to me, "It was the most horrible thing I've ever seen." She adds, "I don't know what this country is coming to." Many Americans have a sense of dread of what this country is coming to, or rather, what it has already become, which is not quite the more perfect union of our highest aspirations. I am so glad that we are together this morning, whether here in Unity Hall or in the online pews, because otherwise we could each of us be alone, moving through these difficult days, enraged for all of our waking hours. And perhaps rage would flood our sleep as well. So let's all take a deep breath. That's what I do in the early morning when I go for a walk. I take deep breaths. Early Friday morning, I went out into the blue sky, sunny day, and headed to the beach. This is where I live. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Once there, as the hymn says, I breathe in peace, I breathe out love. The water, the sand, the birds, the sky, the sun, the flowers, all along the way as I head down to the beach, these calm my heavy heart. I am feeling my equilibrium resettling after too much bad news dysregulated my entire self. This earth, this sea, it is for a balm, and I give thanks. So I'm walking toward the big house at the one end of the beach that looks out over the water, the New London Light, as you can see just over its shoulder. And I see something curious that I've never seen before. A spout of some sort at the base of the seawall. As I get closer, I see water gushing from its source. Adam's going to click that. Working on it. Can you see? So I see a pool guy standing on the patio above. See on that railing? He's standing right there by the railing. And he sees my look of bewilderment and he says, "We're draining the pool." And I said, "So chlorinated water is going out to sea?" And he says, "Oh, no. He explains that recent storms have thrown so much water over that 8 to 10 foot wall that you see there that the pool was filled with seawater and seaweed. And he tells me that the house right down the way, same thing. He goes on to share stories of folks who live near McCook Park on Niantic Bay who are building up already ineffective seawalls. And then I point out to him the dramatic changes in the topography of the beach that we are standing on since last summer. And he says, you can't deny it. Climate change is real. And we rest in this moment of shared lament. So the walk I take to calm my heart and mind, to prepare to write this very sermon, has turned into an amplification of, yes, my climate anxiety, which is all to say, there's no getting away from it. There's no looking away. And those of us who are fortunate enough to live in such a beautiful area on the shoreline or near to it, we have a front row seat to it all, after all. And so the question for each of us as individuals and all of us as a Unitarian Universalist congregation, abiding by our seventh principle, which compels us to covenant and affirm and promote the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. The question is, what can we do? What is our part as individuals and as a congregation? Because the answer to what we can do is a significant antidote to climate anxiety. So the rabbit hole I ventured down led to excellent stories of climate activists, all young adults, by the way, who are responding to the rise in climate anxiety by sharing the science that says that, in fact, there is still time to turn the ship around. Now, there's not a lot of time, but there is still time. Who says what we all know, that to wallow in despair is to risk paralysis? To risk paralysis. They all know that individual acts are not what's ultimately on their own going to save us. Wonderful as it is that All Souls does not use paper plates or disposable cups and utensils, as wonderful it is that we compost, as wonderful it is that we have solar panels above our heads, as wonderful as it is that we recycle soft plastics, as wonderful as it is that we're seriously considering either hybrid or geothermal heating and cooling in the wake of our ancient HVAC system going out. All of this is wonderful, all of it is important, and as we all know, it's not what's going to save the planet. But hopefully, what we've done as a congregation, and this is what I learned in reading all this, is that we maybe will inspire another congregation to do the same thing, or another small or large business, or all of us at home to take the same actions. Hopefully, what we've done might make a difference in southeastern Connecticut to do the same. We all know that large corporations who are the guiltiest polluters of air and sea and earth cynically worked the messaging to have us believe, little old you and me, that it's up to us to recycle our soda can so that the earth will survive. Come on. But now let me share what I've learned from others. There may be an upside to our collective anxiety. In a podcast called, and I commend this podcast to all of you, Outrage and Optimism. This is a climate podcast. Outrage and Optimism. Christiana Figueres, who served on the team that helped create the Paris Agreement, she said the following of the success of recent lawsuits, one in Switzerland and the other that you may be more aware of in Montana. You know, all those kids who sued the Montana government because their human rights were being threatened. Lawsuits claiming human rights violations because governments have not done enough to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change. She said, what all of these cases are doing is that they're actually reflecting a change in the general mood, in the general acceptability, what is within the window of public tolerance. That window of public tolerance, she said, on climate irresponsibility, that window is closing. It is not as open as it used to be. That is very linked to anxiety, to not knowing what's going to happen about the unaddressed climate change, to the fact that we're getting more and more scientific information of the disaster that can visit upon ourselves if we don't do the right thing. So some of these climate activists are giving thanks for this anxiety. Survey after survey indicates that people, little old you and little old me, we're paying attention and we are more deeply concerned. In fact, we are filled with anxiety. Hooray! Apparently it's a good thing. So we use that. The anxiety is encouraging, as I said. So my mind settled after I read this New York Times article, and the title says it all. This is the title. Adam, next slide. Okay, doomer, and the climate advocates who say it's not too late. This is an article from, as you can see, March 2022. The phrase is, of course, a play on okay, boomer. You've all heard that phrase, right? But in this case, okay, doomer means all of the folks who have been paying close attention to the overwhelming stack of bad climate news and evidence of the same and see only, yes, only doom ahead. Raise your hand if you are a doomer. There's more of you out there. I just don't believe it's 10 of us. It's all of us. In response, one scientist said, her name is Sarah Jaquette Ray. She's the chair of environmental studies at California State Polytechnic University. She's the author of the book, I love this title, A Field Guide to Climate Anxiety. So safe to assume she spent a good deal of time thinking about this, right? The article says that to fight this sense of powerlessness, Ray encourages people to see themselves as part of a collective groundswell of environmental groups working around the world and to resist doing exactly what I did, going down the rabbit hole of climate horror stories. I'm going to say that again. Resist going down the rabbit hole of climate horror stories. We don't have control over geopolitical upheavals, but we can focus on the places that we can make a difference. Dr. Ray says, if the problem is so big and we are so small, which is what the doom narrative is telling us, then we need to make the problem smaller and we need to get bigger. It's kind of what we do at the end of our service, right? A reminder of how big we are. The climate crisis would be, she says, the fight of our lives with ups and downs. And regardless of what administration is in power or whether particular policies are implemented, it takes courage, she says, and discipline to keep cultivating community and health right where you are, where we are. Especially amid such bad news. We need to make the problem smaller, and we need to make ourselves bigger. We make ourselves bigger by gathering up our collective commitment and energies. The UUA is sponsoring a climate revival in September. There is at least one soul here at All Souls who's really fired up about it. Stu Kaplan and I are meeting next week, and I trust that there will be more of you interested. And here are a few photos of the souls who were fired up for the climate strike of 2019. There's our intern, Ann Kadlacek, and Nicolo Festa. It was a show of commitment and, yes, hope. I told Morgana this morning that this picture was in here. She looks very different 5 years later, but there she is. There she is. And of course, Jonathan and Frida and Becky Noreen is in the background. Imagine green jobs. And there is Eslyn and Denise, of course. Do something about climate change, reads Eslyn's sign. And today is JoJo's 11th birthday, but there she was 5 years ago. Diane and Ginny join their voices to the chorus. And there is Kate and Victoria and Bridget. I speak for the trees, says Victoria's sign. And Caitlin and Melanie. And Erica and Jonathan. And there are the Mellows in the corner, now living in Arizona. And so all of this is a show of how we garner energy to make ourselves bigger, right? Hope. Mary Anais Hegler is a climate essayist and co-host of The Hot Take, another really great podcast that I found. I love what she says about hope in the face of the very real prospect of climate catastrophe. For Ms. Hegler, said the article, as bad as climate doomism is, so is what she calls, I love this, hopium. Hopium. An unfounded optimism that someone else will come up with a magical climate solution akin to a silver bullet. She says underneath doomerism and hopium is the question of, are we going to win? That's premature at this point, she says. We need to ask ourselves if we're going to try. We don't know till we try if we're going to win, and whether we do or not, it will still have been worth it. So we must be wary both of doomerism and hopium, both. Together we'll aim to strike a balance, dear souls, unlike the poem fighting to come to life in the reading, the poem that wants to be a book of safety matches, tempting us to drag our match across its gritty strip, a blaze of worry, but not enough to stop a forest fire. We must hold out in all faithfulness. We must believe in miracles, in the budding of a lily in the human heart. The mountain moved, one spoonful at a time. We conclude with these words of wisdom and prayer by the late feminist theologian Rosemary Radford Ruther. She was one of my teachers in seminary. So I invite you into a communion of prayer so that we may settle into Professor Radford Ruther's words. Great Mother of Wisdom, you are the sustaining force of life and renewal of life. We lost touch with you as we fled into our own minds and climbed our own hierarchies, seeking to make God in the image of our fantasies of domination over the earth, over conquered land, animals, and people. Now our folly is turning ashes to ashes in our mouth. Our power, which we trusted to make us immortal, disconnected from body, from earth, returns to us as toxic waste and acid rain. We seek your healing touch, your nourishing presence. You are ongoing life that sustains this wondrous cycle of birth and death and rebirth. Help us to learn once more to live in harmony with your ways, imitating forests and meadows that make no poisons. Let us quiet our madness and listen to your still voice. Feel your warmth pushing up between the cracks of our concrete pavements. Claim us, your erring offspring, as your own before it is too late. May the congregation say, amen. Amen. I invite you into a communion of silence as we consider not hopeism, not hopium, not doomism, but a real hope.
Please join me in the words of our offering. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this our offering. For all that you have sacrificed and all that you have given, we thank you.
Thank you. You're right here. And now we'll join our voices in singing our closing hymn, Rising Green. It's number 1006 in Singing the Journey if you'd like to follow along. Please rise in body and or in spirit.
Soul
We will speak these words together as we extinguish the chalice. Our worship has ended, but our service is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. The chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion. Those in the online pews, I invite you to hold your heart while reaching out to the world, the community before your screens, and those in Unity Hall to reach out in gladness. We reach up in gladness and with hope, knowing that we can amplify our size while shrinking the problem. Let us be reminded of our power and rise up green again and again. Go in peace and return again with great joy. Amen.
Amen.
I invite you to be seated for the postlude. Took my breath away, Gary. That was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So a couple of announcements. If you are new today or new-ish and want to learn more about All Souls, the welcome table is over near Adam. To the right, someone will greet you there to orient you a little bit more. Ooh, that was weird. So today is the Walk to End Homelessness. You can register at the event. It opens up for kind of schmoozing and moving around at noon, and then the step-off is at 1. This, of course, supports the good work of the Homeless Hospitality Center. I will be walking, and maybe some of you will be too. I hope so. The Poetry Circle is today, right after the service. Grab a cup of coffee Charlie will see you in the Vale Library. Next, also today is the Caregivers Sharing Circle that's taking place in the Nash Room. The Italian Sisters Dinner is next Saturday, May 4th. It is the most beautiful meal. I know because I tasted it this last Wednesday, and the sisters and I are all very excited to have you there and enjoying yourselves for this fundraiser for All Souls. And so Liz and Gretchen will be staffing a table where? I'm sorry? In the community room. Yes, in the community room. So you can make a reservation there now. There's still some reservations available. There's a budget hearing, very important, this May 2nd, which is Tuesday, I believe. Is that right? The date is not here. It's the 2nd. So, is that Thursday? Okay, so budget hearing on Thursday at 5:30. The link is posted in the weekly newsletter, so you'll find it there on Wednesday. Link on Wednesday, budget hearing on Thursday. I think that is everything. Just one other thing. Next Sunday, the All Souls Young Adult Group will be meeting for the first time. So I'm very excited about that. If you are between, what, Lynn? Did you want to say something? No, after you're done. Okay. If you are between 18 and 35, then plan to show up. One other thing. Jonathan, you gave me something about a model train show. Jonathan, can you wave? Where are you? I want to tell, all right, John, if you're interested in the model train show, find Jonathan and he'll tell you about that, okay? What? Meet the minister. Meet me. Meet me. Yes. If you're newish to All Souls and want to spend a little time learning more about it, skip the welcome table and come to meet the minister. Lynn and I will be there, and we'll be happy to sit and talk with you. We're going to meet right over here. Great. I think that's it. Thank you for being here, those of you in the online pews, and have a good week. See you next week.